One is this RAM, 8 GB 1600 megahertz, and another is this 8 GB 1333 megahertz. This is a 2012 year model Dell Inspiron 5520 laptop. Now let's see what is there. It has got a two USB 3.0 ports on the left side, two USB 3.0 ports on the right. You can see they all are blue in color. So all the ports are USB 3.0 and also an optical drive. And instead of the hard disk, I have used a SSD. So now I am going to install Windows XP in this laptop using the optical drive. So for that I have to first go to the BIOS settings. So these are present in the BIOS. It has got fixed ODD and SATA ODD. As you can see, it has got EVM 512 GB SSD and a SATA DVD writer, and we have also got an SATA slot for M.2 SSD, but I have attached a SATA SSD here. So now let's insert the CD in the CD drive. The optical drive has not been changed, and I can show you that it's still working. And here SATA operation has been set to ATA to boot from Windows XP, and here I exit saving the changes. Now I go to the boot options. I have not loaded the SATA drivers for Windows XP in this CD, so I have to look for the compatibility ATA settings in the BIOS. Here I boot from the CD DVD drive. So the optical drive is working, as you can see. It's loading the files as usual. So now I create the partition for Windows XP 32-bit. I just give mere of 30 GB. This one I give for Windows XP 64-bit. I give it merely as 50 GB. Let's reserve this 120 GB space for Windows 7 and this space for Windows 10 or 11. So these are the partitions that I create. Now I install them on the C drive. That's the Windows XP 32-bit. So the setup has started copying files. This optical drive is really good. It copies at a decent speed. So the initial copying of files is almost on the verge of completion. So now the computer will restart. As this is Windows XP, it's quite fast, and an SSD. So now it has come at this stage. Here I name it Harry and the organization I name as home. Next I have to type the product key. It's already very familiar to me. It's everyone knows i5 is Intel. I just tried Core i5 third generation and then go to next. The subsequent steps are all similar, so I am not showing anymore. Now the XP installation is going to be completed, and I will be next showing how to install the drivers. So the setup has now again restarted. So the setup is very quick, as you can see. And it's i5-3210, 2.5 gigahertz and 2.41 GB of RAM is only usable in this case. And in the device manager, as you can see, there are lots of drivers that need to be installed. Now let's visit the drives. I go to my computer. This one is the partition where XP 32-bit is installed, and these are not yet formatted, D, E, F and G. I format it first. It's 50 GB. Volume level, let me set it as Windows XP 64, and I do a quick format. This one is my Windows XP 32 drive. I name it as Windows XP only, and let me rename this as Windows 7, as I will be installing Windows 7 here. I first need to format it using its Windows 7 x64. And for this, let me do Windows 10 64-bit. So this has been done. Now I just need to install the drivers. I generally do this using the driver pack solutions. I also need to do another extra thing. I need to change the settings to a higher resolution. It's still widescreen. It will be automatically adjusted to that screen, that normal aspect ratio 16:9, after the proper drivers have been installed. it's an HM77 chipset laptop. So now the drivers have successfully been installed. Let's see what drivers are installed and what are not in the device manager. There are still some problems. This Radeon driver is not working properly. However, the Intel HD graphics 4000 is working. We can see it from this icon only. Let's run the diagnostics diagnostic tool. It's the same as before. It uses 256 MB. Actually, the sound drivers have not yet been installed. So let me again check the driver pack solutions. The Wi-Fi driver has been installed properly, as you can see. So the sound driver is not working here. Now I am going to install Windows XP 64-bit. So here is my Windows XP 64-bit with no SATA driver. Let me eject the DVD writer. The USB video device, that is the camera, is also working. It actually has problem to read DVDs, as I am seeing. It's actually reading the series. The Windows XP 64-bit was present in a DVD, therefore it couldn't read that. It cannot read DVDs, as I am seeing. It's a good DVD with absolutely no scratches, but it simply cannot read it. So I have inserted this in an external DVD drive, as you can see here, to read those DVDs. Everything is present here. So now let's restart the machine. So now it is booting from the external CD drive. It does not recognize it differently from the internal. That means if you are going to have two bootable CDs, there might be some confusion on which the boot will be occurred first from which one. I install XP64-bit in this partition, the second partition. So it will continue in a similar fashion. So the file copying is completed. Now it will start. It's quite fast due to the SSD being present. You can see how fast is the setup running. It's showing about the O64 emulator to allow 32-bit programs in 64-bit Windows XP. So rest everything is as expected. So let me start Windows XP 64-bit version. Let's see how much RAM is being shown. It's being shown as total 12 GB, 11.9 GB. Now driver installation is needed. It will be similar as before. I have ejected the DVD. On the drive. Now I will be installing the driver packs similarly. So the system has now restarted after installing the driver pack solution. As usual, the sound driver could not be installed, but there are all other drivers. There is total of 12 GB of RAM. As you can see, 11.9 GB. And here you can see the device manager. The touchpad is also working. As you can see, it's a 2-finger scroll touchpad. Wireless networks have also been detected. Let me run the DirectX diagnostic tool. It's 256 MB, similar to Windows XP 32-bit. And as usual, there is no sound or music in this case. So we will be forced to live with Windows XP but without any sound. So whether you use 32-bit or 64-bit, the result is the same. I am going to test Windows XP 64-bit with NFS Carbon. I need to install the DirectX. Instead of the Need for Speed Carbon, I am running Just Cause because currently I don't have the DirectX SDK installed. So let's start Just Cause. The frame rate is quite high, as we can see. It's almost touching above 60 fps. Above the water it's fairly above 30 fps, 30 to 39. The video memory is only 256 MB, but this is possible due to the Intel HD 4000 graphics present in third generation laptops. And we just get these frame rates at high settings. I change the settings to low and restart the game. I again restart the game. Let's see whether we get better frame rates or not. So still frame rate 70 improved, as we can see. These games could be played better using Windows 7, but still its performance is marginally better than the second or first generation processors. Now I will check Windows XP 32-bit with some DOS games, and I am closing Windows XP 64-bit. So this one is my laptop loaded with DOS games. Let's start Dangerous Depth 3. This is my first computer game. This is why I want drivers for Windows XP. And as usual, we don't get any sound. Yes, we are getting some sound. It's coming from the PC internal speaker. It's coming from the BIOS sound from the PC internal speaker, as we get in the same speaker that we get using the BIOS beef codes and all those BIOS post code errors. So Dangerous Depth 3 runs quite well using Windows XP 32-bit. Next I test Doom. I am just seeing the controls. Yeah, this is the door, and here are the enemies. As you can see, I have killed one of them. Yeah, and here is another one. So we can see that Doom also runs well. Then there is this nonsense madness. It's not a DOS game, it's a Windows game, but it's quite funny. It's running at 640 by 480, therefore it's looking small. Then there is this game Lion King. It won't run on Windows XP, it will actually run in Windows 98. They can also play Need for Speed. This is Need for Speed 1. It's a DOS game. So this one is Need for Speed 1. It is also a DOS game. No, I cannot get sound here. So there are many such games I'm not running on. So this is all you can do with a Dell laptop with i5 third generation and 12 GB of RAM. Using Windows XP 32-bit you can play MS-DOS games, and using Windows XP 64-bit you can play many games, but you cannot have the best experience unless you use Windows 7 or Windows 10. Now I will be removing Windows XP from this setup, and instead I will be making it a dual Windows 7 and Windows 11 setup. So let's start the process. First let me start with Windows 11, and then I will install Windows 7 as the second base. So let's start with Windows 11 first.